What if I told you that almost everything you've been taught about building muscle is slowly destroying your health? Not today, not next year, but quietly, steadily, over time, the very methods that are making you look stronger on the outside are creating a storm of inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular damage on the inside. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially if you've been grinding in the gym, following the advice of fitness influencers, and doing everything you thought was right. But here's the truth. There's a massive difference between building muscle for the short term and building muscle for a lifetime. And today, we're going to talk about how to do the latter. Because the way you build your body right now will determine not just how you look at 40, but how you feel, move, and think at 70, 80, and beyond. Let's start with why this matters more than most people realize. There's a condition that researchers call sarcopenia, and it's essentially the slow, silent loss of muscle tissue that happens as we age. It doesn't happen because of some inevitable law of nature. It happens because people stop challenging their bodies, stop eating the right foods, and stop giving their muscles the signals they need to stay alive and strong. And the consequences are brutal. Studies have shown that individuals with significant muscle loss have roughly twice the risk of dying from all causes compared to those who maintain their lean body mass. That's not a small number. That's double the risk of dying, simply because the muscle wasn't there to protect them. So when we talk about building muscle for longevity, we're not talking about vanity. We're talking about survival. Here's something that might shift your entire perspective on what muscle actually is. Most people think of muscle as just tissue that moves your body, helps you lift things, or makes you look good in a t-shirt. But muscle is one of the most metabolically active and powerful organs in your entire body. The more muscle you carry, the more mitochondria you have, and mitochondria are the tiny powerhouses inside your cells that generate the energy your body runs on. More mitochondria means your body becomes extraordinarily efficient at burning fat for fuel. But that's just the beginning. Muscle tissue acts like a glucose sponge, actively pulling sugar out of your bloodstream and storing it as glycogen. This keeps your blood sugar stable, keeps your insulin levels balanced, and dramatically reduces the oxidative stress and inflammation that quietly devastate your health over decades. When your blood sugar is chaotic and your insulin is constantly spiking, you age faster. When your muscle keeps everything calm and balanced, you thrive. And then there's something even more fascinating happening inside your muscle that most people have never heard about. When you exercise and build muscle, your muscles release specialized proteins called myokines. These are essentially chemical messages that your muscles send to your brain, telling it to ramp up the production of something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. It stimulates the growth of new brain cells, enhances neuroplasticity, improves memory, sharpens focus, and even helps regulate your emotional responses. People who have more muscle and exercise consistently literally have healthier, more resilient brains. Research continues to show that regular muscle-building exercise can reduce the accumulation of the plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease and protect against the kind of neurodegeneration that steals people's minds in their final years. Building muscle is one of the most powerful things you can do for your brain. Let that sink in. Now let's talk about where most fitness advice goes dangerously wrong, because understanding this is crucial. The conventional approach to building muscle keeps your body locked in what's called an anabolic state. Anabolic simply means building up, the opposite of catabolic, which means breaking down. Both are essential. Your body is designed to cycle between them, building up and then breaking down, cleaning house, repairing, and rebuilding stronger. But mainstream fitness culture has convinced millions of people to eat every 2 to 3 hours, consume protein shakes constantly, load up on carbohydrates around every workout, and basically never let their body enter a catabolic or cleansing phase. And yes, you will build muscle doing that, but you will also drive up systemic inflammation, accelerate cellular aging, increase oxidative stress, and ultimately sacrifice the long-term health of your body for short-term visual gains. It's like running your car engine at full throttle and never changing the oil. It looks like it's performing, right up until the moment it breaks down completely. So the goal here is balance. We want to build real, functional, sustainable muscle while also allowing the body to regularly cycle into those restorative, cleansing phases. And the good news is, it's absolutely possible to do both at the same time. You don't have to choose between looking good and aging well. You can have both as long as you follow the right principles. So let's walk through exactly how to do this step by step in a way that's going to make total sense and that you can actually apply starting today. The foundation of everything is resistance training, and you need to approach it with intention. The goal isn't just to move weight around, it's to challenge your muscles to the point where they have no choice but to adapt and grow. The most effective rep range for genuine muscle building sits between 6 and 12 repetitions. If you're focused on building serious size and strength, work in the lower end of that range, somewhere around 5 to 10 reps with heavier weights. If your goal is more about functional strength and endurance without dramatically increasing size, the 8 to 12 range works beautifully. The key principle is that the last rep of your set should be genuinely hard. If you can finish 12 reps and feel like you could easily do 5 more, the weight is too light. You need to be working close to your limit because that's the signal your body needs to start the rebuilding process. The type of exercises you choose matters just as much as the rep range. There are 2 broad categories of exercises: compound movements and isolation movements. Compound exercises work multiple muscle groups and multiple joints at the same time. Think of squats, deadlifts, bench presses, bent-over rows, pull-ups, overhead presses, and lunges. These movements are incredibly efficient because they stimulate large amounts of muscle tissue simultaneously, trigger a much greater hormonal response, and give you an extraordinary return on the time you invest in the gym. Isolation exercises, on the other hand, target a single muscle, like a bicep curl or a leg extension. They have their place, but they should never be the foundation of your training. If you walk into the gym and spend 40 minutes doing bicep curls and tricep pushdowns, you're leaving most of your body's muscle-building potential completely untapped. Lead with your compound movements and only add isolation work at the end if you have energy left and want to bring up a specific area. One of the most underrated parts of a smart training program is the rest and recovery structure. Your muscles don't actually grow during the workout. They grow during the recovery that follows. This is why the split between muscle groups is so important. A simple and highly effective approach is to alternate between upper body days and lower body days, allowing each muscle group at least 48 to 72 hours of recovery before training it again. So you might train your upper body on Monday, your lower body on Tuesday, rest on Wednesday. Return to upper body on Thursday, lower body on Friday, and rest again on Saturday. On your rest days, you're not being lazy. You're allowing the biological repair process to unfold fully. Overtraining is a real and serious problem that keeps countless people stuck, inflamed, and frustrated. Honor your recovery as much as you honor your training sessions, and your results will reflect that discipline. Now let's move into nutrition, because no matter how perfect your training is, you will not build lasting muscle without feeding your body properly. The single most important nutritional variable for muscle development is protein. Protein provides the raw amino acids your body uses to repair and rebuild muscle fibers after training. A solid guideline is to aim for somewhere between 0.6 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight daily. If you weigh 170 pounds and you're training consistently, you're looking at roughly 130 to 170 grams of protein per day. If you're significantly overweight, base your calculation on your lean body mass rather than your total weight to keep things accurate. Now, this sounds like a lot to some people, and it can feel overwhelming at first, but when you spread it across your meals and you're choosing the right food sources, it becomes very manageable and surprisingly satisfying. Speaking of food sources, this is where quality separates people who thrive from people who just get by. Many fitness programs tell you that protein is protein as long as you're hitting your numbers. That's simply not true. Where your protein comes from has a profound impact on your inflammation levels, your gut health, your hormone balance, and your long-term well-being. The ideal sources are grass-fed beef, pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught fish, and organic dairy products like Greek yogurt or cheese from grass-fed animals if your body tolerates dairy well. The reason we're prioritizing organic and grass-fed options is not snobbery, it's biology. These animals are raised without synthetic hormones, antibiotics, and the kinds of pesticide-laden feed that conventional farming relies on. Every one of those toxins you consume contributes to inflammation, disrupts your gut microbiome, and works directly against your longevity goals. You want maximum nutrients and minimum toxins. That's the philosophy behind every food choice. Now here's a principle that most fitness professionals either don't know or actively avoid telling you. Because it seems counterintuitive, one of the most powerful tools for building sustainable, long-term muscle is intermittent fasting. Yes, fasting, the very thing that conventional muscle-building wisdom says you should never do. Here's why it works. When you fast, typically for 16 to 18 hours, your body dramatically elevates its production of human growth hormone. Growth hormone is often called the master anti-aging hormone because it does so many remarkable things simultaneously. It tells your body to burn fat for fuel, to preserve and rebuild lean muscle tissue, and to repair damaged cells and tissues throughout the body. So, when you fast and then train at the end of your fasting window, you're hitting your workout with elevated growth hormone already circulating in your bloodstream, and then the workout itself triggers another wave of growth hormone release. You're essentially stacking two powerful anabolic signals back to back, creating an ideal environment for muscle growth and fat loss simultaneously. But the benefits of fasting go even deeper than hormones. Fasting triggers a process called autophagy, which is essentially your body's internal recycling system. During autophagy, your cells identify old, damaged, dysfunctional components, including worn-out mitochondria, and break them down into raw materials that get repurposed to build new, stronger, more resilient structures. Think of it as taking a city and demolishing the crumbling old buildings to make way for new, stronger ones. When you combine fasting with exercise, you create a state of cellular stress that accelerates this renewal process, increases the production of stem cells, and leaves you with cells that are more metabolically flexible, more energy efficient, and simply better at everything your body needs to do. For most people, doing 16 to 18-hour fasts 3 to 5 times per week, finishing the fast with a workout, and then breaking the fast with a high-protein meal is a powerful rhythm that produces remarkable results over time. One important note, particularly for women who are still in their menstruating years, fasting intensity needs to be coordinated with your cycle. In the week leading up to your period, your body is already under more hormonal stress, and aggressive fasting or high-intensity fasted training during this window can disrupt your cycle and leave you feeling depleted. During that final week, expand your eating window to about 10 or 11 hours, keep your training a little lighter, and listen to your body closely. Outside of that window, most women do extremely well with intermittent fasting and benefit from it just as powerfully as men do. Let's talk about carbohydrates, because this is another area where nuance matters enormously. The goal is not to eliminate carbs, but to use them strategically through what's known as carb cycling. When you do resistance training, your muscles burn through their stored glycogen, which is the sugar your body keeps packed inside the muscle for quick energy. After a hard training session, your muscles are essentially empty tanks waiting to be refilled. This is the perfect moment to consume a moderate, controlled amount of healthy carbohydrates because those carbs will go directly into the muscle, replenish glycogen stores, and bring water into the muscle tissue along with them, which creates that fuller, more defined appearance and enhances performance in your next session. The best sources for this carb refeed are nutrient-dense options like sweet potatoes, other root vegetables, and whole fruits, not processed grains, sugary drinks, or packaged foods. By cycling through lower carb phases during your fast and strategically loading carbs around training, you keep your insulin sensitivity sharp, maximize the muscle-building signal from carbohydrates, and avoid the fat gain that comes from eating carbs indiscriminately all day long. Something that often gets completely overlooked in muscle-building conversations is the power of sunlight. Getting daily sun exposure on as much of your skin as possible is genuinely one of the most underappreciated performance tools available to you, and it costs absolutely nothing. Sunlight triggers the production of nitric oxide in your skin, which dilates your blood vessels, improves circulation, and delivers more oxygen and nutrients to your muscle cells. It also stimulates the production of intracellular melatonin, a form of melatonin that gets directly into your mitochondria and protects them from oxidative damage, allowing them to function at a higher level. And of course, sunlight drives the synthesis of vitamin D, which behaves more like a hormone than a vitamin in the body, and plays a direct role in the production of testosterone and other anabolic hormones essential for muscle growth. You don't need to bake yourself to a crisp. The goal is moderate, consistent daily exposure. Enough to feel a gentle warmth on your skin and maintain a light base of color throughout the year. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day makes a meaningful difference in your hormonal profile, your mitochondrial health, and your overall vitality. And then there's sleep, which many people still treat as optional or negotiable. It is neither. Sleep is not passive downtime. It is the single most powerful recovery tool your body has. Between the hours of roughly 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., if your blood sugar is stable and you're in deep restorative sleep, your body releases the largest pulse of growth hormone it will produce in an entire 24-hour period. This is when your muscles are being rebuilt. This is when the micro tears from your training session are being repaired into stronger, denser fibers. This is when your brain is consolidating memories and clearing out metabolic waste. If you're cutting sleep short, eating late at night and spiking your blood sugar before bed, or flooding your eyes with blue light from screens until midnight, you are actively sabotaging every single one of the other strategies in this entire program. Prioritize your sleep environment like it's an investment, because it is. Keep your room cool and completely dark. Wear a sleep mask if there's any ambient light. Avoid eating within 3 hours of bedtime, and put your screens down well before you plan to sleep. These small changes stack into a dramatically better quality of sleep that transforms your recovery and your results. Here's the big picture that ties all of this together. Building muscle for longevity is not about extremes. It's not about grinding yourself into the ground with 6-day-a-week sessions or eating every 2 hours to stay in a perpetual anabolic state. It's about working with your body's natural cycles, feeding it intelligently, challenging it consistently, giving it the rest it needs to rebuild, and creating an internal environment of low inflammation, hormonal balance, and cellular resilience. When you do this correctly, the muscle you build doesn't just make you look better. It makes your brain work better, your blood sugar more stable, your hormones more balanced, and your entire body more capable of handling the physical and mental demands of life. You will feel stronger, think more clearly, age more gracefully, and move through your 60s, 70s, and 80s with a vitality that most people have simply given up on as inevitable losses. It is not inevitable. The body you build today with intelligence, patience, and the right principles is the body that will carry you well into your final decades with strength and dignity intact. That is what building muscle for longevity truly means, and now you have everything you need to start.